Hello everyone and welcome to episode 80 of The Path to 1 Million. My name is Cliff. Well, this morning started off to be very interesting. Yesterday I told a story about finding approximately 12 hornets' nests. There was 8 that I saw on the house, and then there was another 2 that were in the shed. I went to Meijer's this last Saturday and I bought 2 cans of that hornet wasp killer. It's got like a range of 22 feet, so you can stand, safely away. I had some very interesting suggestions yesterday. Charles recommended that I just use a flamethrower against the house, which was interesting. I thought about using that option. Of course, Nancy pointed out that, I want to make sure that I do this at dark or at dusk anyways, when all the hornets are there. Both of them are really great suggestions. Sherry was telling me a story about how when she had a hornet's nest to spray, she actually physically got into her car, drove over to her barn, cracked the window about 1 or 2 inches, sprayed, and then rolled the window up. So she kind of like had the tank method, and I actually kind of like that tank method. I probably would have done it because I just do not want to get stung. I don't want to do anything like that, but I do know that, of course, dealing with the whole situation invoked a lot of stress. But here's where the real stress came in. When I went out there early this morning to take these nests out, I had, like I said, I brought 2 cans of that hornet spray when I was out there, and I started shooting the hornet's nest. And I got one, got another, and it had rained like crazy. Like when I got home, and my dad was saying that probably about 5:30 in the morning, it like really rained in Chicken Scratch. I got out there and I started spraying the nest, and you could still hear the water dripping, but the spray itself is oil, and so there was dripping from that as well that I could see the little droplets of oil hitting the ground. But one thing I started to notice was that when I would shoot these nests, that some of that dripping was from the hornets themselves. So the oil would get on the hornet, and the hornet would fall from the nest, and they're flopping around on the ground dying, hopefully. But it kind of freaked me out because every time I would shoot a nest, there would be maybe 4 or 5 of these hornets that would drop to the ground. Well, as I'm going along the house and I'm shooting them, because I'm remembering, there's 8 and stuff, and I'm trying to be very aware if there's any hornets flying around or any wasps flying around. All of a sudden, I got to a section of the house that I didn't look at before. So when I went and looked over there, there was at least another 8, if not 10 nests that were there too. It was crazy. It was like the hornets were treating my parents' trailer like an apartment building. There was this nest. And then this other section that was actually bigger, the overhang was actually bigger, the nests were bigger. So they've been working at this stuff for a while. So I went through 1 can of the spray, and I went into the house, grabbed a 2nd can of the spray, because I have to keep going. I don't want to be doing this at all. My stress levels are rising like crazy. I don't want to be doing this, but I have to do it because I cannot leave my parents with a house that's infested with hornets. I'd go back to Long Beach and absolutely freak out. So as I'm going along, I come back outside and I shoot 1 nest that's just huge. And right when I'm shooting the nest, this one hornet comes right out, like right at me, and it's like some kind of aircraft or something like that. And I'm like, ah, and I'm like screaming. I run across the yard. I go into the house because I don't want to get stung. So I get inside the house, and my heart's beating a million miles an hour. I'm thinking, oh my God, I got to get out of here. But after like 5 minutes, calm down. It's like, okay, Cliff, you can go back out, shoot it. Maybe the wasp was even forgotten that you're out there killing them. I don't know. So anyways, go back outside, continue to shooting them. I finally clear the house. So I'm very happy about that. But there's still at least 2 nests that are on the shed. But for some reason, I can't count. So I know that there's 4. There's 2 on the outside. And then when you open up the door, there's 2 on the frame. So I go over there with the can that I have, the 2nd can that I have, and I shoot the 2 that are on the outside. I open up the door, I look inside, and there's 2 nests there. They're pretty good size. I shoot the 1 nest, soak it really good. I point the spray at the 2nd nest, pull the trigger, nothing comes out. I have now drained the 2nd can of aerosols. So made it all the way to the end, have one nest left to go, and I ran out of aerosol. And of course, I will not have time to do the hour-and-a-half trek today to drive to Myers, get a can, and drive back because, life happens. I've got meetings today. But I completely ran out of spray, and it's one of those things now that's annoying me because it's now another problem that I have to take care of. But it's, it got me thinking about, when I completed this whole odyssey, ridden their house of the hornets. I do feel better, at least that the house doesn't have any hornets on it. But it got me thinking about stress and the stress that people can get under and the things that can do. I've been reading a lot about people and how they handle these emotions over the past few days, these negative emotions, as far as like stress goes and fear and everything else. And it seems to me that when it comes to handling stress and having these conversations, I've had multiple people over the years tell me that I do a really great job of handling stress. And I think that from my perspective, stress for me, it really is nothing more than I don't understand something and I'm worried about something that I don't know. That's really about what my stressors are. If I can start educating myself on the problem, then I don't seem to have as much stress. And the more I educate myself, the more I can formulate some kind of a strategy to solve the problem. And by solving the problem, it alleviates the stress. And in doing some, research and looking on this, they were talking, of course, one of the things that really stuck out to me was the fact that the death of a family member causes stress. And I know that, and I've shared this with you before, but when I was 5 years old, my father passed away. So before my father passed away, my biggest stressor in life as a kid was to eat more candy. That was my stressor. That was when I woke up in the morning, my brain was just eat candy, eat candy, eat candy. And I only had a small allowance. I could, I would have to beg mom to buy me a candy bar at the store because, oh no, that stuff will rot your teeth. Then one day my dad dies. So I go from wanting to eat more candy to having the death of a parent. And that's a lot of stress to throw on anybody. I think having to go through that and endure that has given me a perspective on what real stress really is. And when I go through life and I have these events that are happening, it's usually because it's either one of two things. It's because I'm either uneducated on it or there's nothing I can do about it at the moment, and then my brain will sit there and marinate on it, and that will cause a little level of stress. But for a lot of people, what they have as stressors just simply, in a grand scheme of things, is really not that important. I took my parents grocery shopping last week. We bought a bunch of groceries. And when we stopped at Aldi's, my mom wanted to get cottage cheese because it was on sale too for $5. So we got 2 containers. We made it home and we could not find the cottage cheese. I tore the car apart looking for it. I tore the kitchen apart looking for it. Could not find the cottage cheese. I know it wasn't in the cart because you have to take the cart back and plug it back in and you get your quarter back. They have some kind of security deposit quarter. Seems pretty cheap for a shopping cart. Anyways, you have to take that back over there. And when I did, of course, I always looked down, checked the cart. There was nothing in the cart. I know that the cash register lady rang it up. So somewhere or another, 2 containers of cottage cheese disappeared. Anyways, we never did find them. Well, as I'm talking to mom, I called mom yesterday and we were just chit-chatting. I could tell something was wrong. She was clearly upset about something. And when I asked her what it was, she said, I found the cottage cheese. And I said, where did you find it? She goes, it was in the pantry. So my father, thinking he was helping, just grabbed the 2 containers of cottage cheese and rather than putting them in the fridge, put them into the pantry. So for me, this is not a big deal, because I already know that my dad is having issues. He's doing the best that he can. He thought he was helping out. He made a mistake. But for my mom, this was a huge stressor and it completely shut her down for the entire afternoon. And when I called her up on the phone, you could just tell in her voice that she was just completely stressed out. And, from my perspective, when I was listening to her talk, at the risk of sounding insensitive, I'm thinking to myself, man, there's much more things in life to worry about and to focus on and to stress about rather than, a couple containers of cottage cheese going bad. And, I told mom, I said, this is one of the things where dad thinks he's helping and he's not. So maybe when you guys get home from grocery shopping, you'll just have to tell dad to go work on something and you'll take care of the groceries. And that made her feel a little bit better, I think, because she now had a plan. But I know she's stressed out and she's a little bit afraid because she's so reliant upon relied upon my dad. So, but it's just, from my standpoint, it's just, when I start to educate myself on what the problem really is, I start removing unknowns. Like if I don't know something, then, I just start educating myself. What is it that I need to do to be able to solve this problem and to alleviate the stress? And for me, it's almost like a process that I have to go through. So I think for many people that are out there, they, and some people, they try to help, but they hypothesize and they'll tell you information. I've had this before happen where I've just been completely stressed out, and people have told me, oh yeah, well, the housing inspector is going to come and they're going to shut you down and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And I look at them, I'm like, how do you know? Where do you get your information from? Oh, well, I'm just thinking out loud. Well, you're really not helping me, because you're giving me a bunch of information that is extraneous. If you've got information that can help, that's great. But if not, just keep all your hypothesizes to yourself, because my brain is very good, because I'm a recovering engineer. My brain is very good at imagining worst case scenarios. But most of the time, I just realize that, just by educating myself, just by learning more about the issue or the problem, and then putting some kind of a plan in place to either to solve that problem or to extricate myself from the situation, it does a great job of relieving stress. And the one thing that I'm also aware of too, of course, is that, and I know there's some debate on this, whether there's like good stress or bad stress. I do know that there's a lot of stress that comes in my life just simply from the fact that I'm growing. I'm learning more. I'm trying to be better at who I am. I'm trying to build something. I've got a mission that I'm on, and because of that, there's going to be growth, and I'm going to be experiencing new problems. If you've ever read Grant Cardone and his book 10X, which is an excellent book, by the way, but his book 10X, if you ever read it, he always puts in there, you want new problems, because if you're dealing with the same problem over and over again, you're not moving forward. You want new problems. When you grow, when you're building something, whatever that might be, you definitely want those new problems. And according to Jocko, when you're experiencing those problems, that's when you're really experiencing growth. So anyways, I just wanted to share some of those thoughts with you today. I'm going to have to figure out somehow a way or another to get over to Myers and get another can of that stuff, because I cannot leave. I can't leave Michigan and have my parents have one last nest in that shed, because like I said, my dad, his head almost hit it and he wasn't even aware that it was there. So I got to do something. Anyways, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update on my war with the hornets. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Charles, for watching. And I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. I'll see you then. Have a good day.